All right, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today, this Saturday, September 9th, for the Effective Interviewing and Networking workshop with Brother Jefferson, Brother Wooten. They worked very hard for this. I am the chairman for the Bigger and Better Business Committee for the Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Psi Sigma chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. It's a pleasure to have everyone here today. These brothers have a wonderful workshop to present to you all. As I said, they work really hard on it. It's not going to take up too much of your time, but I believe you guys are going to be able to extract a lot of positive things from this workshop that you can take and utilize in other aspects of your life, especially for interviewing and or networking. I will be working in the background. I will be off camera, but I won't be here for the entirety of the meeting. I won't be here for the entirety of the meeting. But if you have any questions in the chat, while I'm here, I will answer them for you. I pass the reins back to Brother Wooten and Brother Jefferson, and you guys have a wonderful rest of your workshop.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and thank you for attending our dynamic presentation on effective interviewing and networking. This presentation is brought to you by brothers Frank Jefferson and myself, Lawrence Wooten, of the Psi Sigma chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. A little background on your host for today. Brother Jefferson pledged fall 1985 at the University of Florida. He has held several positions in Sigma since being initiated in 1985. Brother Jefferson has also retired as vice president from Eli Lilly and Company in research, sales, and marketing. He has started and run 3 companies and is owner of F&D Barbershop. As for myself, I pledged Phi Beta Sigma in spring 1992 at the Hard Alpha Eta chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated at Florida A&M. I currently work as an IT professional with a local processing plant. The agenda for today will flow as follows. We'll address researching career choices, professional networking, and the interview process, and we will end with a Q&A period and discussion. Take it away, Brother Jefferson.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's absolutely, brothers, my pleasure to have this opportunity to talk about a subject that I'm very passionate about, and it's about owning your career. But I might even say the big picture really is about being a business owner. Each of us, no matter where we are in life, we are a product and we are a corporation. As you look at this visual here, you'll see that as a corporation, we're always doing research and development here in this area. We are doing marketing and sales. And so those are the key areas as we go through some of our workshops that we're going to touch on. Today, we're going to focus on marketing, that being networking, and sales, which is interviewing. But all of these are important, whether you're employed, underemployed, or unemployed. This is important to all of us. Moving on to professional networking. We're going to start with networking. And I have a visual in front of you. Can everybody see the visual? And the brothers that are here, this is going to be active participation. You able to see the visual? So what I want you to do, when we see that it's professional networking, what words come to mind when you look at that visual as it relates to professional networking?
Degrees of separation.
Degrees of separation, yeah. Brother Cooper, what are you thinking? I see you pondering deeply. What are you thinking? And there are no wrong answers. I can't hear you. You
of course. What I'm thinking is there are cross connections, and it runs in various ways.
Yeah,
There's no straight line necessarily.
Yeah, isn't that true? Yeah, I'd agree. That is so. See, these are all really true things. So the thing you guys didn't say, I hear sometimes from folks as I do this at universities or for the company, it's complicated. There are many pieces and parts, but the beauty of it is, but it isn't. There are only a small number of degrees of separation. But what we want to do is make this doable. So let's talk about how to get started. There are 2 key things that I want to focus on. Is 1, developing a plan for the personal brand. I said earlier, each of us is a brand, each of us is a corporation. Really important. And to me, to develop your personal brand, you have to know yourself. Take an inventory, look at yourself, talk to people who know you and say, what do I do well? What could I do better and different? Google yourself, see what's out in the system, because as we're networking, people want to gain value from their interactions with us. And if we don't know our own value and our own shortcomings, we won't be valuable in the network. Also, LinkedIn. I know most folks use LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is a great way to network. Everybody should set up a LinkedIn profile. Start to get all of the people you know. And there's so many people. You'll be amazed as you get onto these platforms that start to reach out and want to connect. And when they connect with you, you actually then get their network. So you're growing your network by being on a system like this. So know yourself and start with LinkedIn. Those are two easy things. I have another bullet point here around contact management, but once you get started and you start working with people, that'll become relevant. Now let's move into interviewing. And again, no matter where you are along the continuum, every one of us, and I do this often, I think every once or twice a year, I'm sitting in front of someone interviewing, testing my market value, getting experience. But this quote from Walt Disney is one that I've known and practiced as a Floridian throughout my life. All of our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. And that's what Walt Disney said. I would add, also put in the work. We need to put in the work, preparation and work. And yes, all our dreams can come true. So today, as we go through this process, we're going to break the interview process into three parts. One is pre-interview. Then there's the interview, and then there's post-interview. All are important. Some people do okay on the pre-interview. A lot of people focus most of their energy on interviewing. And then you have folks who somewhat focus on post-interviewing, but all are equally important. They're key to developing and growing the brand, because no matter what the outcome is, you're representing your corporation, you're representing yourself as a brand. So in terms of pre-interview, that's the first thing we said we were going to talk about. I have as an example Google. I think we all feel like we know Alphabet. We know Google. Well, if I was going to go interview with Google, I would dig deep. I'm talking about I'd get the annual report. I would go ahead and understand principles and mission. I'd talk to people who work for Google. Tell me about the company. What's the culture of the company? What are the challenges, the opportunities? How do they work with diversity and inclusion? What matters? And, because everything's posted today and everybody's rating everybody, their websites. There's Glassdoor, you can look at to see what people think about the company. Indeed, I know in my profession, we had Cafe Pharma. Now, Cafe Pharma wasn't an official site, but representatives from all the different pharmaceutical companies, especially the major ones, posted their thoughts about leaders, about the company, about what was happening, shared concepts. So it's really important. So the takeaway here is invest the time in knowing the organization you're going to work for. Because what we know is that we spend a lot of time at work. And so to work for an organization that isn't a good connection and a good fit, not good. All right. So I'm going to hand it over to Brother Wooten.
Thank you very much, Brother Jefferson. Preparation is the key to every successful venture. You want to familiarize yourself with the video chat platforms that you will be using to facilitate your interviewing. Examples given are Google Meet, Zoom, and Microsoft Teams, etc. You want to take time to test your technology the day before. Do a dry run with a friend to make sure everything is worked out, got all the bugs out of the way. And then you want to get feedback on your sound and video to make sure they're adequate for what you're trying to do. Also, make sure your background is appropriate for interviewing because you want the attention to be on yourself, not on what's behind you.
Absolutely.
The saying goes, you never have the second chance to make a first impression. So look the part you want to play and dress for it. Be successful in your thoughts and presentation. Be professional in your appearance. Be modest in your attire. And stick to solid colors, limiting prints. Again, you want the attention to be on you, not what you're wearing. And also stick with solid colors. Dark blue, black, or gray are best. Thank you very much, Brother Jefferson.
Absolutely. And everybody, you know that we all, like I said, when we were talking about know yourself, myself, I'm high tech, and really the truth is I'm not high tech. So that was me moving between the slides there. So, you know, the first question that many times you get when you are interviewing or sitting down with someone is, tell me about yourself. Well, folks, when you get the question of tell me about yourself, it is not, they don't want to know about your cats, your dogs, and, you know, the things you did and all the stuff that, you know, your hobbies, all of those things. This is your moment for that 1 minute elevator speech. Hopefully you've heard of this. And if not, I think it's important whenever you're dealing with anyone, executives and people that you're trying to sell on something, 1 minute speech, 1 minute elevator speech. It includes education, work, what it is that you do better than anyone else, and what you're looking to do moving forward. So just as a sample, hey, attended the University of Florida, majored in biology and pharmacy. During my time there, I did multiple leadership things. So I learned how to work with people, science, publish, and get things done. In my multiple roles in clinical trial work, my work for the University of Butler, what I've learned is this, is that I can communicate information effectively and get people moving. And as I looked at the information around your company, you're looking for people who are self-motivated, who believe that they can make a difference, they can innovate and make things better. That is who I am, an innovator, a person who is self-motivated and driven to excellence. And so that's my elevator. That's my I didn't write it down, so that's not exactly, it depends on the audience, but we have to have our elevator speech to be able to move forward. So that's how you answer that question of tell me about yourself. Now, later in that session, maybe when it starts to get a little laid back and you guys are just chit-chatting, because most times folks don't have hours to be with you, but if there is an opportunity to just lay back, and maybe it's that second interview where they're wanting truly to know you, that's when some of the personal, who you are as a person would come out. Next is believe big. One of the things that I am very big on as a scientist, as someone who's worked in sales, marketing, as a business person, is there techniques and ways to be successful. So a technique for answering questions when it comes to, you're going to get questions because we've gotten through the tell me about yourself, but they're going to be questions that come. And when you get a question, I want you to think about the fact that you're driving the car. So remember car with an extra R on it. And it's about context. It's about action, results, and how do you relate that to the role you're looking to have or roles you've had in the past. So car, really important. When that question, because it's a game, a back and forward, the interviewer is asking questions, you're answering questions, and at some point, you'll be asking questions and they'll be answering questions. But context is all about setting the stage. What happened? What had happened was. The next is action. What did you do in that moment? After you figured out there was this situation going on, for example, sometimes the question that comes up is, tell me about a time you didn't achieve your goal. Oh yeah, it was my second year in sales. I was living down in Valdosta, a little extra there, and I had a challenge. I was 10% below goal. And what I figured out is that I was missing some information about the doctors, information about my data. So what I started to do is I started to first ask some of my colleagues who've been really successful, how did you have that success? And they told me, dig into your data, get to know your customers. So I did that. And as a result, in my third year, I went to President's Council. I was the #1 representative in the nation. And for me, what that taught me is that whenever you face an adversity, which will come, and I've had multiple adversities in my career, what you do is you step back and you figure it out, ask some questions, plot a plan of action. And by the way, I only spoke about having talked to the doctors, but it was an ongoing process of learning and evolving. And I believe that that is what I can bring to this company and to this role. So that's CAR as an example, but CAR is really important because in interviews, sometimes we are in a situation where we're a little tense and we're thinking it's a one-way thing. I would say drive the car. You really do need to take to driving the car. Next, let's talk about something that can happen when you're in a situation where you are uncertain. Maybe you don't have the immediate answer, or things don't go as planned. You can get into what we talk about as the fight or flight. You're in fight or flight. And I have a cross section of the brain here. And what I have here is the hijack, but specifically the amygdala hijack that happens to people. It's where you don't think clearly. You're in that survive, I have to survive or I will die. And what I want to say is this: it happens to all of us. And it happened to me today when we were getting ready for this presentation. I wasn't able to get my slides to come in right. But the way to handle it is called the SOS. Hey, you're in distress. So what do? We go SOS with an extra S. I love to put extra letters on things. Stop. Oxygenate. Just breathe. Chill. Shift away. The world is not ending. This is not so bad. Nothing bad is going to happen. And go back to car. You're driving the car. You're the person in the driver's seat. That question is on you. And oftentimes the coaching that I give and advice is that even tell the interviewer, may I have a moment, just a moment to think about that. Just that buys you the time. I've never seen people turn you down when you say just a moment, because actually they're kind of happy to see that, wow, you really are a reflector. So you deeply reflect, but you're actually gathering yourself in this process. So that is the questions, how to deal with questions, how to overcome the fight or flight that may happen to you, and it does happen. But now it's time, they say to you, what questions do you have? Again, now the ball's in your court. So what do you do here? Hey, no, it's a two-way communication, but ask questions that are meaningful questions, things that are important to you about the environment, the expectations, what good looks like in the role. And they absolutely, you'll give them an opportunity to start to share. I found that what is really helpful is if you can get the interviewer to move from being just checking boxes and writing stuff down to opening up and being a person. That's the win here. Oh yeah, I've been with the company. You can see the body language shift, the voice, the tone change. You'll start to hear, I've been with the company for this number of years here, or they might have a smile or something that says, now I got them in the zone where they're going to really be honest versus just giving me the standard. Oh, great company, been here 10 years. I think it's wonderful. Would highly recommend it. You don't have them. You're not in the zone. So that's the asking questions. Next, we want to just summarize. We've talked a lot here, and we want to summarize what we've talked about.
Yes, thank you. If you will, allow me my moment.
Yes.
I do appreciate that. In summary, You want to expand the key items listed on your resume/cover letter, making sure you reference experiences that fit the requirements of the position you're applying for. You want to share your card, your context, action, result, and relational stories that showcase your past experiences. And lastly, have your closing statement and questions prepared so that you round out the interview well. Brother Jefferson.
Absolutely, sir. And one of the things, so we've done we've done interviewing, and after the interview, there's been enough data pulled and information, and I think about my own personal experience is so critical to do a letter. I know people are big on emails, however, but there needs to be some written communication that goes to each of the individuals that you interviewed with. And it should be personalized. It shouldn't be just a template. I believe in templates. I'm big, like you heard my SOSS or CARR. Have some general things that go everywhere, but plug in the things that made that interaction significant and special, and link it back to some of your skills and why you're excited. That's so important. That must happen to close it out. So those are the things we have for you. I'm going to hand it over to Brother Wooten to kind of open up. We can open up here as soon as you will, sir. And I'll take
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I would like to thank everyone for joining us. And this is that time for questions, comments, and concerns. But before we go there, I did want to ask, or if you allow me to ask, what did you learn from today, and what will you do to hone your skills on networking and interviewing? Just take a moment, think about that, and we can proceed with questions, concerns, and comments.
Yes, sir, gentlemen. So, yep, we're here for you. So you can take that moment. I know some brothers are not on camera, maybe on mute. I like that, you're listening and engaged in that way, but we would love to hear from you. Any of your thoughts here? So. Okay. Are we getting anybody on the chat? Yeah. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I see. Yes, I see you now, Brother Cole. Definitely. How you doing, sir? You there?
Yes. Did you call on me?
Yes, sir, Brother Cole. Yes, indeed. I'm calling on you. Good.
Okay. My apologies. I'm actually traveling right now. I'm in a truck, and so I had my wife swap out. I was driving and listening. So I had to stop and get on the passenger side so that I can be more attentive and more safe. Yeah, sorry about that. I thought I heard you say my name.
Yes.
Anyway, good afternoon, brothers. How are you?
Good afternoon.
Yeah, so this is a lot of good information. I particularly appreciate that this is the information that you provided is like on a white collar level. A lot of times we'll go to an interview, and just in general, folks in general,
Right, yeah.
And I don't think that it's all the way geared toward positions at the E-level, at the executive level, or white collar. So thank you for thinking about that aspect of interview and employment and relationship building. So I have a question. I'm a licensed attorney. Okay, I work for the government. I'm not sure if anyone has I work for the federal government. I'm not sure if anyone has ever worked for the federal government. If you do or did, that would be truly helpful. But I mention this because although I am an attorney and an officer of the court, I am not an attorney for the federal government. So my question, but even though the roles that I'm in are law related, right? So my question is, when it comes to federal work, it's not, nothing is a straight line, but this is really, it can be really complicated and really layered, because you have a scale, a pay scale, and this pay scale represents, a few things. Not only does it represent pay, but it represents certain benefits, levels of experience, and behind closed doors, really opportunity. So when you're in the federal government, you want to, people want to make money. They want to move up, right? There may be a role for you to move up. So let's say you're a GS-12. You want to become a GS-14, right? And the GS-12 job that you have is a specialty. You're working within your specialty. It's based on where you're at, it's hard to move up to the GS-14, whether because the positions don't become available or whatever have you. So in order to, to move up, you may take a role, right, that's not necessarily within your specialty, just to get in a position. Now, once you're in a position, you can make a lateral move, and it's much easier. So my question to you is, how do we negotiate that when we are before, like the pre-interview, the job search?
Got it.
How do we approach that and negotiate that with our skill level, our specialty, and what we have to offer as the corporation or the business of us, of B?
Yeah, you being your brand, your corporation. Don't have federal government experience. I'm going to see if anybody has federal government experience, but I'm going to, because there's a lot of similarities from business to business. So I want to hear from anybody who has that experience. Anyone with federal government experience? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. I know. So here's what I would say, brother. The first thing I would ask you is, what is it that you want? What do you see yourself doing in 5 to 10 years? What is it that you're aiming for? And does everybody know that? The people that matter.
Right. Yeah. Right. So that's a really good question. Maybe a more common experience is, has anyone in the meeting been in the military?
Okay, the military folks.
Yeah. I mentioned that because
I've been in the military.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead, Brother Cooper. Yes,
so
sir.
You haven't. Yeah, so you haven't. Well, I want to hear what you have to say, but I want to let you, try to lay the groundwork. In the military, officer, you haven't listed. You have officers. Officers are, normally are the head of the division, and the divisions vary. So I was in the military, and so you might have combat information officer. And then, that might be an O2 level that or position that you take. And then you might, want to move up, right? And they only have but so many naval ships, which means they only have so many positions that you're looking to move up into. And maybe your expertise is information systems. But in order for you to move up, right, you either gonna have to wait, right, until somebody retires or dies or whatever, right, or you take this navigation,
Right.
but that's not really your specialty. Maybe there are things that that are relatable, but it's not your expertise. This routinely happens, right? Right. So I don't, what would you say, what would you all say in terms of, you know, the, the interview, connecting with the interviewer as the interviewee, I guess relating skills. It's easier to do it in the military, of course, because you're property to a certain degree,
Yeah.
right? And it kind of can sort of tell you.
Right. Let's see if Brother Cooper has something to offer there for you, brother. Go ahead, Brother Cooper. Any thoughts you have? And then I want to bring this one back because I think there's a piece of R&D that we want to talk about.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I would like to make a comment. I'm not sure if I will be able to get directly to what Brother Cole is asking, but my main thought is, number one, we should always be prepared for whatever the position is that we have in mind that we want to accomplish. I think being prepared is extremely important. I was not an officer in service. However, I did graduate from college, went in as an enlisted person. So from that perspective, I experienced going into a career field directly out of basic training that I was told had not happened before. That was in purchasing and contracting. What I experienced was realizing that this was something that I had never been exposed to. I made an effort to really learn, to prepare myself. As a result, I was sent down to procurement school in Amarillo, Texas, encountered individuals there who was above my rank, but I was able to perform and excel. I just put it, my mind to doing it. And so preparedness is, I guess what I'm saying is the main thing. You mentioned the example of going from a GS-12 to a 14. So I would assume, an individual in that setting would have a knowledge of what the requirements are. And so knowing that, you would have to navigate the personalities that you will be dealing with. And here again, you have to understand and prepare yourself for that personality, particularly if it's within the, someone that you are working with or you have a relationship with. You have to study that individual and be able to, navigate to be effectively with that person. I would not entertain the negativism, but look for that positiveness that you can do to influence that particular individual or group. That's my take on it.
Yes, very well said. Well said. I would, if I could build on Brother Cole before we come back to you to see if this is helpful. I want to basically build on and what Brother Cooper is talking about. There is, no matter what organization or what field you're in, you talked about going into an area that is not your expertise. Just a brief for me, my background coming into Eli Lilly is that I had a microbiology degree and a doctorate in pharmacy. I'd done clinical trials. I was put into clinical research. I was comfortable with it. But then I started to network with people in the corporation and found out they were doing a startup company. I didn't have a business degree. I didn't have the technical skills, any of that. But I started to network, show them what I had. I moved out of medical over to a startup company, science guy over at a startup company. And while I was there, did what we needed to do. Somebody pulled me over to marketing. Again, no degree, no background. They did send me to business school eventually, but what they saw in me, I think, over and over, was somebody who had a drive, who was willing. I remember taking all these books I would get, because based on my background, I like to read, and I know you as a lawyer, you love to read. I would go get marketing books and finance books. I was teaching myself stuff because we be talking about stuff I didn't know what they were talking about, but guess what? I was participating. I was all in, and when I was called on, I stepped in and stepped up and said, here's what I can do. I did what I did very well, which I was a science guy, but I knew that wasn't going to be my path forward. That was just a gap filler until I could actually, because I knew what they were looking for. They were looking for people who were strategic. I don't know. I didn't even know what the word strategic meant, who understood brands and marketing and life cycles and all this stuff. But again, the learning part, just being open to it. And back to my question, though, that I would love to hear is, what do you see yourself doing in 5 to 10 years? Because it may not end up being in government. And maybe you should be testing your market value elsewhere. But I'm not saying that you leave the federal government, but you have to be able to answer that question, which is, what do you see yourself doing 5 years from now? What's important to you? What's your purpose? Hey, Brother Cole, you're on mute right now.
Yes, I was trying to get I kept trying to press the button. It wouldn't do it. So my apologies for the delay. Yeah, it's a great question. I've learned to try to play to your strengths if you can. Some of the things that you're good at, you may not enjoy. But I try to find what I'm good at and be able to support my family doing it. So I love helping people. And I also enjoy kind of what my special is, which is Fourth Amendment rights, privacy. So I'm not an impatient person. It's been a long haul. Just to show you how that I can that I represent the team and listed just like you. And I did what I needed to do, and then I went to school.
Brother, do this because you're breaking up a bit. Brother Cole, go ahead and come off camera, because that'll give you more broad bandwidth or whatever they say the word is. But yeah, don't use your camera. Just talk so we can hear you clearly. Yeah, I think we'll see if he comes back. Brother Wooten, anything, any thoughts? Yeah. So did you hear what I was saying? Just take your camera off and just talk to us. He might have jumped off. Yeah. He may come back. But good wisdom there. I think he's coming back. Yes, Brother Cole, you're back. We can see you there. Now go ahead and you were making a final kind of statement to summarize what you see yourself doing in 5 years, and what your purpose is, or you see.
So right. So basically my purpose is to put in how can what I'm good at, how can that help me help other people? So I see myself somewhere in privacy law. In the next 5 years, the next 10 years, I expect to be, retiring from government work. And so again, I started early, when I was 17. So kind of pulling out, but between that now and then, Also, setting up to help, veterans receive benefits.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it makes sense. Brother Wooten, thoughts as this relates to this? I do have something I want to come back to it, Brother Cole, but Brother Wooten?
You must forgive me, bro. Per usual, I am taking it all in. So y'all talk, I'm absorbing.
So, Brother Cole, here's what I would say to you, just listening, and I'm going to play back what I heard. You want to get your retirement from the government. So you do your time. How long before you get retirement from the government?
I got to go back and rework the numbers. They have something called a buyback.
Okay.
So it combines your military career with your government, and then you can head on. But I think the last time I checked, it was like 12 years.
Okay, 12 years. Okay, so 12 years. So here's what I would say, because I was thinking it was more like 2 or 3 years, because if I'm a listener and I'm going to just speak to you about what I've heard and what I've received, your main reason for being where you are right now is to get to retirement and pension. This isn't your passion. This isn't your area of focus. You're not doing what you love doing, and you don't see this job getting you there. So my recommendation, if it were not your objective wasn't to purely retire from the government, would be to get into something that you have a passion and a belief in that allows you to leverage your skills and go do it. But that's not the case. You've said, I will be in the government and retire from the government. Since that is the case, go back to a point that Brother Cooper made. You need to find your happiness within this and navigate this system to have it be a win-win-win. And I know people don't like talking about all these wins, but at the end of the day, people can see when you see it as a check the box versus you're highly engaged and love what you do. And maybe nobody in the government is highly engaged and love what they do, but I hope some people are. But I'm going to pause there and get your reaction. And this is an open dialogue if you're comfortable with it.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate the advice and the wisdom that you all are providing right now. It just so happens that I actually have an interview Wednesday coming up. It would take me out of my role right now. So the government has something called a full performance level. Basically, it just means that you can only go up steps, but you can't go up. You can't scale. You can't go up the pay scale. Now, within my job to become a supervisor, supervisors are 2 steps up. In order to become a supervisor, you have to serve at least a year to the in the previous step. So if it's you want to become a GS 13, you have to have been a GS 12 for at least a year. Yes. But now if you can't go up, what if your position it doesn't go up to 12? Well, now you're stuck. So in order to make it, you have to go, and people do this. They leave the division. Perfect. They take a role that's 1 step up, right, and then they'll come back.
If that's their passion, right, and what they love doing, right? Yeah.
Right, but this is the strategy. So what I'm saying to you is like I every job that I apply for in the government is some form of helping someone. And really, my background in education kind of dictates that. Okay. Right. So it's not, it's not scientific. My background is not, even though I crunch numbers all day, I didn't go to school like for accountings and ones and zeros. I went, and my job is to engage. Every job that I've had, even when I was IT in the military, was to engage. It was customer service. So that's where my strengths are, and that's what I enjoy doing. I saw my mom do that. God rest her soul. She was a social worker, and she, when I was growing up, got paid pennies but she was on call, had a beeper and all of that, you know. But I saw the satisfaction that she had, and it kind of rubbed off on me. Right. So, you know, the strategy is one that it's almost like you have to, you know, kind of become a subject matter expert for, you know, for an interview, or at least be able to speak the language, right, even though they may know that you don't really know it like that, but you have to be able to separate yourself, and you know, they know that, you know, researching the role, right, is, you know, a good way to do it. Yep, absolutely. Getting interviews for the government is really, really hard, like very, very difficult, even if you already work for the government. Okay. So if you get an interview, you got to make the most of it. Yeah, like you really got to shoot your shot. Yes. And so, you know, what you said really had me thinking, you know, about the whole car situation. Even taking me back to the elevator pitch and how I can tailor that to questions that they will ask. They ask, it's, you know, most of them are PBI, which stands for performance-based interview. So it's like, tell me a time when, blah, blah, blah. Right. And car applies to that. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yep. Yeah, yeah, I think what you guys are telling me, you know, is good. You know, I think not to, I think for me, I gotta not wear my heart on my sleeve. Okay. I don't have to be so much cunning, but just just hearing you guys talk. Yeah. Applying relatable skills are transferable skills into my elevator pitch, like constantly critiquing and making it applicable to whoever is asking. I think that part that you said, I can't remember the part, but you said, you know, just kind of know who's asking you the question, or know who you're answering to. Absolutely, it becomes important. Brother Cooper, you had anything else to add to this dialogue?
No, it's been very helpful.
Yeah.
And I hope I've been able to make
some
contribution.
You absolutely have.
Yes.
Absolutely. Brother Cole, here's what I would offer to you. You say you rarely, I'm going to play back. I'm a big person on playback. What I heard you say is that it's difficult to get interviews with the government. So you have a shot. This is almost a once in a lifetime shot for you. And so this is critical. It's very, I mean, I say critical, immensely important for you, your future, etc. So what I'm willing to offer to you is some of my time before your interview for you to do some role play with me. And I can tell you, no matter what industry you're in, communication is communication is communication. So I will be able to help you with how to get your thoughts down to the 1 minute, where they're just boom, 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 points. I don't know the government again, but most times people want to hear boom, boom, boom. It makes sense. Let's move. Okay, got it. And so it's really, really refined, and it's so spot on. And you're so comfortable in it that maybe it is you're on stage, but life is a stage, right? So you just, you know, we have you ready to be on stage and to do what you need to get what you need to get. And then later you can be whoever, possibly. Now, I don't subscribe to that. I think you show up as who your genuine, authentic self. Yeah. But sometimes you got to get on stage. So
yeah, and Brother Jefferson, I would love that, and I appreciate you, you know, offering your time.
Right.
Yeah, so I think being, you know, sometimes experience can backfire on you when you don't know what you'll be. You have a lot of experience, and so people love brevity, love being succinct, And I think that's something that I can suffer from, you know, as an interviewee. But I think that's also just, you know, being in on the other end, an interviewer. That's something that everyone suffers from, you know, at one point or to some degree.
Yeah. And you're saying adding additional words and, you know, being very comprehensive when maybe if I gave you 1, 2, 3, your question would have been answered. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Exactly. Take the fluff out. I think that a lot of times, you know, people will add words because process.
Yeah, exactly.
What I found, and this is something that I can pass on. So for anyone who will go back and listen to this and is thinking about applying for the government, one, they do the performance-based interview questions, but two, this is what I learned, especially since we're in an environment now where a lot of these interviews are done just like this via Zoom.
Exactly.
Those interviewers, because it's almost always a panel of 3 or more, don't mind you. They don't mind the pause. No. If you say, "Give me just a moment," so you can get your thoughts together to answer the question. I used to think that wouldn't make sense, that you should be, you know, be able to kind of answer it. I don't know where I got that from.
Right.
But, you know, thinking about it, I realized I would rather take 30 seconds, even if 30 seconds when you're waiting on something seems a lot longer than just 30 seconds. And being able to give a clear, concise answer
all day
is better than someone say, "Sure, no problem. So I was in 9th grade," and then you know, and then they go into a diatribe, and it's like, you know, you almost try to figure out where the answer really lies. Yes, like what is really the answer.
You absolutely get it. So but I definitely volunteer my time, and I'm sure any of these brothers would as well. But that's exactly, you get it. And at the end of the day, even at the back end, and we're going to close this out, it's okay to say to a person, "Do you want additional information? Is there any additional information that you'd like from me? Did I answer your question?" They'll tell you, "I would love to," if you ask in a way. And it's always, I think, about not so much what, but how. And again, don't know the government, but I know human beings. And I used to, when I remember starting in sales, and the physicians, we thought they were gods. And once we realized whether they went wherever, did whatever, they're humans. So if I can deal with human beings, which is that people, you can be human and say, "Hey, is there anything else you want? You know, what else could I do?" You know, those kinds of things. Just that seems to work in almost every setting.
Yes. So, yes, absolutely. And so we're wrapping up, but I'm not sure when you'll do another one. If you do one, I would suggest, or maybe in the future, covering questions during the after the interview, after they ask you questions. What are good questions to ask them? You know, most interviewers do you have any questions for us?
Exactly.
And normally I do, but sometimes I think maybe it's, you know, those questions are a little awkward, or they're really not prepared to give an answer, you know.
Right. So. And, you know, that's okay if they're not prepared. But hey, give them a moment. So very good. Well, with that, Brother Wooten, you want to close us out, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We like to thank everyone for attending, and it was a pleasure, and for me, quite a learning experience. So I just want to say thank you. We look forward to more presentations and conversation. Really, it's just conversation. So thank you, Brother Jefferson.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. And we invite all of you to join us for our next interaction and session. It's been a wonderful session, and thank you. Have a great day and a wonderful weekend.
Yes.